Well, all right. Good morning. It's a beautiful day, a little chilly, but hey, that's the way things are these days, this time of the year. What are you going to do? But it's good to be with you as always, as we enjoy a little breakfast with Jesus. Um, it's just such an amazing thing every time I stop and think about it that, here we are in various places, um, even various times, those who are in different areas of the world, right? And yet we can gather together, gather around the Lord and his presence and just say, what do you got for me today? So that's a good thing. And I'm very happy to be able to be part of that and be part of your lives as well. It's an awesome thing. So good morning to this breakfast club. Joanne, good morning. Jane, good morning. Derek, good to see you as well. Jack and Kathy, aloha, my goodness. Ted, good afternoon from Germany. Donna, good morning. Yeah, the Breakfast Club, absolutely. Hopefully, we have a little better purposes and goals than that original Breakfast Club. I'm sure that's got to be a reference that most people are aware of nowadays, right? I mean, my goodness. It was quite a famous movie for a while. And let me say good morning to my two viewers who are watching via YouTube. I apologize that I'm not able to see who you are and call you out, but thanks for jumping in. And Patricia, good morning. Okay. So we have been looking at this whole subject of mind renewal, renewing our minds. And, it's, I don't know what it is, but over the past, I would say 3 or 4 years, um, I have had something of an awakening to this particular truth, this reality. Not that I haven't, listen, as I mentioned yesterday, you can hardly go to church without some reference or some teaching being done on Romans 12, where Paul talks about renewing our minds. But it seems that there is a new emphasis that the Lord is making because of the fact that our mind renewal process is absolutely one in which we have to cooperate. We have to participate in this. And I don't know that that's something that has been as appreciated or understood in past years as much as it seems to be happening now, or maybe you're beginning to awaken to this as well. For many years, we would be content to go to church and hear a sermon, or maybe if you were really spiritual, you would go to a Bible study or some such thing, prayer meeting, whatever. And that was kind of all we knew, well, take a class, here's a class that the church is offering in some subject. And uh, that was really all that we understood about it, that's what was required. It's just go to church, listen to the sermons, maybe take a class or two once in a while, a Bible study here and there, whatever. But it really does seem that we're in a time frame in which the Lord is really pressing us. At least this is what I'm seeing. I don't know, maybe it's not where you are, but you know what? If you're here on this broadcast, either live or watching the recording, it's no accident. All right. Because I really truly believe that we have entered into a season over these past few years that is now even more so going to accelerate, where we're being offered the privilege, the opportunity, the invitation to take our mind renewal process to a whole nother level. Because as we see here in Romans 12, 1 and 2, which I might as well read it to you so that you know what we're talking about. Paul writes, "Therefore, I urge you, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies a living and holy sacrifice, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service of worship. And do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may prove what the will of God is, that which is good and acceptable and perfect." Okay. Very, very powerful stuff right here. And uh, I think what I want for you to begin to really kind of grasp and understand, which is again something that 3 4 years ago I was beginning to see in a major way, is that the renewal of our mind ultimately is a matter of each of us making choices, making decisions along the way that will either position us for this transformation that the Bible talks about, or to delay it, or perhaps even negate or deny that transformation. I think ultimately it really becomes a delay, um, unless you meet an untimely death, and then of course, well, that's it. But so there is this level of responsibility that I've been seeing that the Lord is kind of opening up to us regarding our role in this process. That it's not just simply, a sovereign act of God, a move of the Lord, to bring this kind of transformation into our lives. And I think that's been kind of the approach. It's been the understanding that, well, yes, God is at work, in me. I'm not perfect, but God is working in me, and I don't know. There, it just it has just seemed that way to me, that it was more passive in years past. And what I am really encouraging you to look at is that we have a major role to play. And Paul brings that out here in this passage so beautifully, because the first thing he says, he's urging these Christians, that he's writing to in the area of Rome, in light of everything that I just wrote to you in chapters 1 through 8. They didn't have chapters back then, but everything that I've written to you about what God has done through Jesus, through his blood, through that awesome transaction that took place on the cross, everything that God has done for us demands a response from us. That's basically what he's saying. He said, look, by the mercies of God that he's extended to us, right? He exercised his love and his mercy toward us and didn't let us go into an eternity of separation from him in hell, right? Plus, not only that, right? We look at all the things that Paul writes about in terms of our being separated from sin, separated from the old life, given a new life that is now being conformed to the image of Christ. That's what God's doing, right? He's the one that is conforming us, into this new image of Christ in us, the hope of glory, right? That's what God is doing. But here in chapter 12, he lays out for us what our responsibilities are, so that this transformation can not only occur, but can occur with speed, with depth, with completeness. There's a lifestyle that the Lord has in mind for every single one of us. This is not just typically or simply, okay, I read the Bible every day, I pray every day, I go to church. Man, if that's your definition of Christianity, whew, Get ready for a huge shift because it's just like, not that those things are not important. Of course they are. But that is not the sum and substance of what the Christian life is all about. The Christian life is a partnership with the Lord in which we get to fulfill the eternal potential that He created each of us with. That there are things that we are created for, to do, to accomplish, that will absolutely have eternal consequences. Because when we enter into eternity, the Bible's very clear. We're going to be doing stuff. We're going to have responsibilities in the kingdom for all eternity. So wouldn't it make sense that while we're here for whatever that is, 70, 80, 90 plus years, I'm going for 120, just so you know. But whatever we're here for, doesn't it make sense that the Lord would want for this to be kind of a training ground, for this to be an opportunity where we'd begin to experience what He had in mind for us from the beginning. Keep in mind that when God created Adam and Eve, there was no death. There was no death. Okay. Yet He said to them, be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, subdue it, and rule. See, that's never going away. That is never going to go away. It's going to be something that we engage in throughout all eternity. Now, I don't think that the fruitful multiply part has to do with having kids. And I can hear some of you saying, amen. Been there, done that, got several t-shirts, right? But the idea that we will be engaging in some kind of eternal process of creativity and responsibility that He laid out for Adam and Eve. Again, that was a time when there was no death. They were being called into an eternal process, an eternal place of responsibility. Okay. So this transformation, this lifestyle that we're being invited into, remember, He always honors and respects our free will. He will never force any one of us to do anything that we're not on board with, because that's just how He's chosen to do it. But He's inviting us into this lifestyle that is literally meant to be a training ground where we could be engaging in stuff that has eternal significance. And then think about this. The moment you transition from this lifestyle here on earth into your eternal lifestyle, it's almost like, okay, I'm just simply changing where I work. Okay. I've been working here, and there'll come a day when I'll get to be in the heavenly kingdom, which eventually will be the earthly kingdom if you read the book of Revelation and what it talks about at the end. But the point is you never stop being who you are. You never stop doing what you were created to do on some level. You're just going to change addresses, from here to there. So I'm trying to give you this big picture as to, why God is in the process of transforming us here and now. I mean, remember, He could have easily, the moment each of us got saved, He said, okay, perfect. I'm going to bring you home right now. And you just go to heaven immediately the moment you get saved, right? If that's all He cared about. But no, there's something a whole lot more here. And so, when Paul starts out here in chapter 12, the first thing he says, hey, present your body to be a living sacrifice before the Lord. Why? Because it's in this body that we are functioning to be and to do what we were created for. And so, what does it mean to have, we understand the idea of a sacrifice, right? And, because that was something that we see recorded in the Old Testament, and how the Jews would always be bringing animals, at various times of the year to be sacrificed, and their blood, shed for particular purposes, right? So we can understand that. But the idea of a living sacrifice, that's new. That's a new covenant thing. And it's really the foundation upon which our our metamorphosis begins. Because if we're not willing to offer ourselves to the Lord as a sacrifice, where we say, you know what, my life is yours. I am willing to, as it were, put myself on the altar as a sacrifice. And, you know, anything that you put on the altar, well, it pretty much has no more rights, no more freedoms, no more nothing. It's like you're there, you're about ready to be killed as a sacrifice, right? And so in this living sacrifice idea, it's I'm living out of the reality that I am not my own. I was bought with a price. He made me, he redeemed me, and then he adopted me. And so I truly do belong to him. And it is the reasonable response to all that God has done, to say, wow, okay, yeah. I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to live my life, in agreement with his purposes for me. And you know what the funny thing is? The moment you reach that point of surrender with him and begin to walk that out, begin to live out of the reality that, he deserves that. He deserves my life to be, completely dedicated to him. And but yeah, once you reach that revelation and you begin to live out of that, well, guess what? All of a sudden now you start to realize that, oh, wait a minute. So you want me to do the things that matter to me. You want me to operate in areas where I'm gifted and where I am, like, I'm good at this. I I love this. You want me to do that? This living sacrifice thing, is not basically, okay, anything that I like, anything that I want to do, I'm not going to, I'm just giving it up for you, Lord. I'm laying it on the altar. Trust me, that is a process that we all go through, but it's not the final outcome of that process. The final outcome is that once you've gotten that right, who's the boss, right? Who's the one that you answer to? See, then he can start to trust you with what he put in you, right? Because he knows you're not going to go and take that and just run wild with it and just live to please yourself. Okay. And so that's really what he's after right now, is just us recognizing that in light of everything that I've done through Christ and through his blood, to set you free and to lay before you a life that is unlike anything that you could even imagine, right? And even if you've been a Christian for years and years and years, maybe you haven't yet even imagined what he has in mind for you, because no one ever told you that was possible. Well, guess what? It is. It is absolutely possible for you to begin to see what his heart for you really looks like. But it starts with, are you willing to lay it all down, to lay yourself down, to be someone who lives out of the reality that whatever he wants is what I want? That's where we start. That's what living sacrifice is all about. I just realized I'm gonna have to change the title of this one. from metamorphosis, because we haven't even gotten there yet. We'll get there eventually. But I don't know. I just feel like that we need to take our time, in thinking about these things. Because again, remember, the Lord's really focusing on this whole aspect of renewing our mind and how we participate in that. And a lot of it has to do with, what am I meditating on? What am I focused on? What am I pondering? You know, and in order for us to do that, we really have to be, uh, I think very, what's the word I want? Very intentional, very careful about really looking at each of these things and getting the reality, the truth of it, so that it becomes part of who we are. So I don't know. I'm gonna keep just slow walking through here, and let's see how the how the Lord leads us and how we do. But hopefully this is helpful for you. It's been a real revolution in my life over these past, I guess, like I say, 3 or 4 years. Um, wow. Let me say good morning to the rest of this awesome breakfast club. Look at you guys. Yeah, it's cold over here too, Ted. My goodness. Ralph and Rosa, good morning. Fred, good morning. Jose, how are you, my friend? Congratulations on your new addition. Bless you guys. Look at that. Teresita. Good morning. It's been a while. My gosh. Linda, good morning. Donna, good morning. Sujana, wow. How are you? Bon noite for you. You over there in East Timor. My goodness. Good to see you. And there's my Karina. How are you? Thank you all. I appreciate so much that you are hanging out with me. And if you would, share the video with the folks that are connected to you on Facebook, and let's see if we get a few others to jump in here. Feel free to reach out, email or Facebook message. As always, I'd love to hear from you. So I hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to being back with you tomorrow, 8:30 Eastern, for a little more Breakfast with Jesus. Till then, you be blessed.